NOLA's future is currently in the hands of the children today, and more specifically the education that is shaping them. NOLA's education was one of the lasting effects of Katrina, which changed the system completely. Antoinette Williams is one of the youngest candidates running for the school board election of District 5. She is the future of education in NOLA. She knows the community and has experienced the educational system. Her story is a reflection of NOLA's story.
Experience, and I know that's super funny because people are like, you don't have any experience, but I think experience comes in all different types, and the people that are currently on the board as well as the people who are running for school board are so far removed from our kids that are actually in the classroom right now that they can make judgment calls based on how things were when they were in school, but that doesn't apply now. I'm the only one running that has experienced our school system post-Katrina. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but Katrina was a major storm we had here in New Orleans, and it changed the entire layout of the city, but more specifically, it changed the entire makeup of our school system. That's when the charter experiment started. So currently, New Orleans, aside from Cog Hill, which is getting ready to be chartered in the following school year, New Orleans is the only city in the entire country that's made up of complete charter schools. So it's very unique to say that majority of the people who are running didn't go to a charter school, and more specifically, they didn't go to the charter schools in New Orleans, so they don't know the current experiences of our students. So my age is an asset because I'm old enough where I can hold my own in the room of people older than me, but I'm also young enough where I can still relate in a room of our K through 12 students. So there was already a push for it prior to the storm, but what happened was there was more pushback, and prior to the storm, you needed a certain amount of votes from parents and teachers and all of these other stakeholder groups to charter a school. Once Katrina hit, they basically tried to, well, what they did was they put policy into place saying, okay, everyone's away, so we can't get these majority votes because no one's here, so we should be able to make a judgment call. So that allowed the schools to begin chartering, but what also happened during Katrina, all of our teachers were fired. So can you imagine going through a major natural disaster, you're away from home, and now you lose your job? So the schools were offered money, resources to pay their teachers while they were away, but with firing the teachers, they didn't give them that additional pay. So our schools began to get chartered one by one after that. 2018, McDonald 35, which is the high school I graduated from, was the last direct run school in the city, and then it was chartered off to Inspire. And since then, the district has reclaimed Cog Hill to serve as a temporary operator until they can give it to the next charter operator. So, like I said, next school year will be completely charter ran again like we were in 2019. No. So, let me be more specific with my answer. Charters ideally work out in theory, but it hasn't come to fruition in practice. So the ideas behind charters is to give these management organizations more autonomy so that they can provide different types of schools for our kids. New Orleans is an extremely diverse city, and I mean that from race to interest. Like, we have kids that are phenomenal in STEM, but we also have kids who excel in arts. So there's different avenues, and the charter schools were supposed to provide different types of schools for different types of students. In theory, that sounds great. That sounds like New Orleans would be the perfect place to have those types of schools because it would suit our kids. That's not what happened. All of our charters are a copycat carbon print of one another. They're all focused on college prep, which is great. I'm an advocate for kids going to college, but I also understand, and from talking to my kids, that's not what everyone wants. So if I'm a kid who knows the vocation that I want to go into or the trade that I want to learn, I should be offered the opportunity to learn that and to do that. And that's not what we're seeing here in the city. Involvement, like anyone and everyone knows that that's my top concern, that's my primary concern. There are many other things that I want to address, like holding the charter management organizations accountable to having a safe and equitable learning environment for our students, we need to increase oversight on our funding to make sure our resources are being allocated equitably, and different things like that. We need to have more programs and incentives to keep our teachers here. There are several things, but the top priority at the center of every single thing I do, regardless of what it involves, will be student-centered and student-led, because there isn't anyone who's saying, because this impacts our kids, let's hear their input. And that's ridiculous. There's no way anyone can tell you what's best for you without having a conversation with you. When I was little, I went to a school and we had to test in the 6th grade. And the test basically determined what route you would take. And I tested very, very high. So I was granted access into the AP courses, the advanced placement courses, whereas several of my friends who lived in the same neighborhood with me didn't have access to those same classes. They were put on the regular route. The first problem I noticed was when teachers would be addressing us, we were the AP students and the non-AP students. It's character damaging to call a child a non-AP student. Like, there was other terms that they could have referred to them as, but saying AP and non-AP, that I didn't like that. It messed up our social skills in terms of there was this level of elitism in the school at such a young age. I've been to 9 different countries, but traveling around also showed me the emphasis other countries put on learning different languages. Like, I haven't met one person outside the country that only speaks one language. That's something that's very, well, outside of the US and outside of London. Every other country speaks more than one language. And I'm sitting here like, these people are getting it right when it comes to education. We're struggling. New Orleans is completely diverse. So our largest 3 languages in the city, in the school system, I'll say, is English, of course, Spanish, and Vietnamese. So at our school board meetings, we have a translator in Spanish, we have a translator in Vietnamese, and we also have sign language. But outside of the schools, there are other languages that are popping up. Like, we had neighbors once, and me and my grandmother sat there for the longest trying to figure out what language they spoke, because we knew it wasn't Spanish. I studied French. I knew it wasn't French, but it had French accents. So we were trying to figure out what was it, and we still couldn't figure it out. But yeah, we have completely different people out around the city, which is great, but we need to be able to communicate with each other. And Americans and people in the UK tend to get very comfortable because the global language is English. So regardless of where I went, there was always people there who spoke English, even if it wasn't their first language. And a lot of those people there spoke English better than we do, because they had put such a strong emphasis on speaking English because they knew how important it was to be able to communicate with other people.
Antoinette Williams, the future of Nola's education, and therefore the future of Nola. Watch out for her in the upcoming school board election of District 5 as she becomes a voice to the underrepresented students and community that is negatively impacted by the educational system.
Thank you. Your possibilities are limitless. You can literally do anything. And I know it sounds so cliche, but I sincerely mean you can do anything.